time now for our rants and raves, starting with Dan.
I have a rave for Edward Isaac DeVere of The Atlantic, who apparently got a tip this week that David Sirota, who's been presenting himself as an independent opinion journalist.
He writes for The Guardian, too,
He
right?
writes for The Guardian. He does a lot on Twitter. Had actually been advising and writing speeches for Bernie Sanders at the same time that he was trashing everybody running for president except Bernie Sanders. So DeVere confronted Sirota. Sirota went out and deleted 20,000 tweets. He said that was nothing, you know, as one does. One deletes 20,000 tweets, right? He denies it. I should say that he does deny it. But nevertheless, after...
He denies what, deleting or working for Bernie Sanders?
He denies that he was working for Bernie Sanders while he was working as a journalist. But nevertheless, as soon as DeVere's story came out, Sirota went to work for Bernie Sanders in a formal way. The good reminder that the ethics of opinion journalism are exactly the same as they are for straight news reporting. You have to be independent.
And you have to disclose.
Yes.
All right, Mike.
Well, I think that my rant this week goes to your point in part, and it's for Ted Koppel, the former anchor of NBC or ABC News Nightline, who I think was one of the best news interviewers. I learned a lot from watching him in my early career. He said this past week in an interview that he believes that the media, the mainstream media in particular, are out to get the president. And I think he's right. I think you don't agree.
I agree.
I think that reporting generally has changed under President Trump. I think that objectivity is being lost. I think that there is a constant mixture now of opinion and analysis and reporting that sometimes happens on the front pages of the biggest newspapers, where we used to have only objective journalism. And I think that many of the cable news anchors, as a former TV person, I've made this point on this show before, I am so sick of the disdain, the chortling, the eye-rolling, the disrespect for the office, not so much the man, the office. I think that they, in treating the president like this, they're not devaluing Donald Trump, they're devaluating.
They refer to him as Trump instead of the president.
They call
that's
him,
where I was going with that Kellyanne Conway story. I think that the media is showing its colors by siding with George.
I think so. I made this point to Dan. You know, I think a lot of cable anchors spit out the word Trump as if he's not even president, and it's some kind of poisonous word. I know when I was a news person, boy, I had to use President Obama.
And you still have to do that.
And still have to do
that. All right, Callie.
Do that. I would agree with part of that, but for another discussion. So remember, I had a tempered rave last week for the woman Alicia Dexter, who was appointed to take over the newspaper in Alabama that had been that was owned, is still owned by Goodloe Sutton, who had written an op-ed saying the Klan needed to ride again. He realized, he said, that was inappropriate, and so he handed the paper over to this black woman, and she said, we're going to march into the future and really represent people. And then now she's just resigned. Why? Because he cannot stop interfering. He couldn't stop interfering, and she said, we had an opportunity to really do something, but he wouldn't allow me to do it, so I have to make a statement.
Was she on the staff before?
Yes, she was on the staff.
So he just promoted her to...
Yes, and then he kept messing around with it. She said, I have to go.
Yeah, so he never really took himself out of the picture.
So,
this made no sense right from the beginning.
I agree.
She should start a competing paper.
Oh, maybe I'll be saying that next week.
All right, Tom.
All right, this is not quite a rave me. This is the sound of one hand clapping. Donna Brazile going to Fox.
Oh my God!
I mean, how would this happen? Donna Brazile, who came up with Jesse Jackson, very liberal on that side, and ended up as the Democratic Party chair in effect until she started leaking stuff to and a commentator for CNN leaking stuff to Hillary. Got fired by CNN. Now she's at Fox. I have to say I'm hopeful, I may be naive, that this may be the beginning of some winds of change blowing through Fox.
Did you see her first appearance?
I saw her first appearance
with
Hannity, and Hannity unfortunately ate her lunch. And I'm hoping that maybe she'll be able to come back a little bit, but there just needs to be, I think, some other voices there, and I'm hoping, and maybe naively, that this will be part of it.
All right,
I wish her well.
Finally today, I have a rant for the New York Daily News, and just stick with me for a second. So, a television station out in WCCO in
Minneapolis
did an interview by phone with the kidnapper of Jamie Kloss. And then the interview was fine. He called them, and he asked them some questions. But then the New York Daily News picked up the story and started with this. He said, he kidnapped her, but she kidnapped his heart. They turned it into a love story. That's not at all what the interview. He did say to the reporter at WCCO that he loved her, and then they stayed home and made meals together. But this reporter for the New York Daily News turned it into a love story.
That's insane.
That was her opening line.
I saw that. My assumption was he ripped her heart out of her chest.
Yeah. He killed her parents.
Yeah.
Kidnapped her for 88 days, and the New York Daily News is making it into a love story.
Are they responding to any criticism?
They got unbelievable blowback. But talk about people who should get fired or put on for plagiarism. This is the kind of thing.
Yes.
Of course, the editors approved it.